Hello, everyone. Alan here. Controversial title, is J.N.D. Kelly in hell? Well, the question's irrelevant, so I'm not going to, it's not irrelevant. So I did a live stream a couple days ago, and off the cuff, while I was ranting, I said, J.N.D. Kelly is probably in hell. Why would I quote him? Now, I don't know his conscience, but if someone dies with mortal sin on their soul or heresy on their soul, they're going to hell unless God is merciful. Ken Temple said, how can you say this when he's your separated brother? Well, if he's separated from me, he could be in hell, because if you're in hell, you're separated from me. Anyway, I wasn't meaning to get that, but I want to make a larger point. I want to appeal to this. It's irrelevant where J.N.D. Kelly is right now. Well, I mean, apart from for him. Alberta donairs are pretty good, aren't they? All right. And thank you, by the way. I just want to say something. This isn't going to be a long video. The point I was trying to make is, if you're a serious apologist, in my opinion, you won't read J.N.D. Kelly. Or at least you won't make his writings your primary go-tos. Yeah, I'm sure that some apologists out there read J.N.D. Kelly or 50 Shades of Grey or whatnot, but that shouldn't be where you're focusing. If my grandma, my 96-year-old grandma, said, Alan, I want to learn some church history, where can I read? I know she's not going to want anything too in-depth or specific. In her case, she can read J.N.D. Kelly. So if it's someone who's not serious about apologetics, and I'm not saying that's bad, because most people aren't called to be that. If you're a normie, you'd want to read J.N.D. Kelly. Yes, he has a Protestant bent, but that's the people. If J.N.D. Kelly is your primary reading of church history, it just shows me that you're not serious about that topic. So let me just appeal to someone. If you're into apologetics, not a normie. If you're a normie just watching this, God bless you. But if you're serious about apologetics, I don't know why you read that stuff. Ken Temple even brought something to my attention. He's like, oh yeah, the baptism part of the Nicene Creed is, or the Constantinople Creed was added around the time of Chalcedon, according to Kelly. Yet in the Council of Constantinople 553, they produced that creed, and they had access to the imperial archives. Constantinople, the same location as the 380 Council and 553 Council. So they knew, they had those archives. J.N.D. Kelly didn't have those archives. So the baptism part is part of the creed of Constantinople 380, obviously. And Kelly seems to say it's not. Anyway, so I don't think he's a fully trustworthy scholar. So appeal. If you're serious about history, why is that your primary concern? If you're not serious, you're not serious. Like me, if I'm going to read a history of China, I'm probably going to want to read it. No, I'd still like to read primary documents, actually. That's what I'd like to do. So if you're serious about learning these historical topics, for example, I am a big fan of English Christianity. Obviously Catholic Christianity, which for most of England's history was their faith. I know it's not anymore, but so I mean, there are a lot of people who make crazy claims. Yeah, they can be good, but not if you're going. You're trying to find the earliest stuff. Yeah, if you're a normie, it's fine. But if you want to go in depth and do apologetics, you shouldn't rely on that. You should go to the primary, if not early sources. So, for example, a lot of people try to say this is a myth that happened among Eastern Orthodox. Based on an essay that's going around, and one Anglican brought this up to me, mainly Orthodox, but one Anglican, and it's this. Well, the Church of England was Orthodox until William the Conqueror's papist army came and destroyed Orthodox Christianity there. No, that theory is so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Normally, what I ask these people who say this, a guy came into my DMs and tried to say this once, and I'm like, have you read this book? This is Bede's History of the English People, Ecclesiastical History. The Age of Bede, this is more early chronicles of England. Some historical works, primary sources, Aelred of Rievaulx, including a biography of Edward the Confessor. Deeds of the Bishops of England, this is a continuation of Bede by William Amanus Malmesbury. Henry of Huntington, early chronicle, around the time of the Norman Conquest. Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. I'm like, oh, okay, have you read these? Have you read these? And they haven't read any of them, not even Bede. So, I mean, that's why people have these ridiculous theories, because they hear something. Well, James White says it, and James White dresses up in suits and does debates, and he records podcasts of lectures of church history. He must know his stuff. No. That guy is, he knows church history as much as the Quran knows the Trinity. And anyone who's read the Quran knows that it does a face plant when it tries to tackle the Trinity. It gets a third of the Trinity wrong. It has the Virgin Mary as part of the Trinity. Whoops. Of course, that's not my problem, because I mean that alone should rule Islam out for any serious inquirer. And oh, by the way, my next book I'm going to read on the English Church is some early primary sources of Alfred the Great, who was a king in the, I believe, 10th century or 9th, 10th century. Around then, that's what you need to do. That's what you need to do. And no one wants to do it anymore. They just want to read J.N.D. Kelly. If you're a normie who's not doing history or apologetics, yeah, you can dabble in these modern scholars like Kelly or whoever. But if you're serious about doing this stuff, you can't be quoting Kelly left, right, and center. Excluding the fact if he's in hell or not, only God knows. But we need to stop quoting that. Like for example, remember when James White, I exposed him. James White early. My famous video that I about James White and how I exposed him as the joke he is, because all he does is quote modern quote unquote scholars, including Kelly. Here, hold on. Let's find the magic. All right. All right, here we go.
The renowned historian Philip Schaff notes, quote, In both cases, the conflict was between a materialistic and a spiritualistic conception of the sacrament and its effect. Created hosts literally explode in number only after the beginning of the second millennium. Just as an example, I again cite from Schaff.
Oh, Schaff. Oh.
Another case related by Etienne of Bourbon is of a farmer who, wanting to be rich, church while the bees singing songs flew away. Schaff says these stories, which might be greatly multiplied, and he provides a number in his history, attest the profound veneration which the host was held and the crude superstitions which grew up around it in the convent and among the people. And here's Schaff's comment: the simple and edifying communion meal of the... And ask him what he thought anathema meant.
Anathema.
In regards to Augustine's view and the view that there were many people who held this symbolic view,
Kelly.
I refer you to people like Schaff, Pelican, Cunningham, J.N.D. Kelly, all scholars of the first rank. You don't have to take my word for it.
Yeah, because he doesn't
do your homework yourself. You will see that that's the case.
Do not say that we adore or worship the Eucharist. I'll read you a quote from Augustine. You tell me what you think about it. Tell me what you did say.
I'm not sure what you're referring to. What I said was that all scholars...
I didn't say that. Well, I'm not sure what you said.
Will specifically make the statement as, for example, Schaff does
scholars,
right here.
He sounds like
previous period, we distinguished three views: the mystic view.
And not only do we not sin by adoring it, we do sin by not
Kelly
adoring
reference.
Is that a question I can answer?
Yeah, tell me what you think of that.
Thanks. Well, I think when you read Augustine, you understand why it is that Schaff, Pelican, Cunningham, J.N.D. Kelly, and everyone else understands why he did not hold to a materialistic view.
Mr. White, correct me if I'm wrong, is that when the fathers talk about real presence, about Christ's bodily presence, all these passages I quoted you from the fathers, they are really talking about a spiritual presence of Christ in the Eucharist. Is that correct?
I have indicated a number of times in quoting from Schaff and others that there were numerous views and numerous ideas that were present in the early fathers. Pelican himself points out that there was no firm, clear doctrine.
Name anybody else who had that same view?
I mentioned in my opening statement, I quoted at least two of the early church fathers who, and specifically, I quoted Tertullian and Theodorus.
All right, so let me just get this down. We can dispense with Jimmy White. Now, there is a YouTube video with White where he's responding to William Albrecht. It's an old video. Albrecht's young in that video. James White's a lot younger, too. But he said, basically, he's like, oh, is it wrong to quote J.N.D. Kelly? Well, how come Robertson Jennis and Steve Ray and a couple other Catholic apologists quote J.N.D. Kelly? Fair point, Dr. White. That's a fair point. But you know what the answer is? We should all stop quoting J.N.D. Kelly. Again, that's a book I'd give to my grandma if she wants kind of a summary, cheap view. But if you want to do history, you can't be quoting J.N.D. Kelly. You got to be quoting the primary scholars. Not from quote minds. By scholars, I mean church fathers and sources. Not from quote minds that Kelly or some others might give, but from the actual source. A lot of people use Kelly. Well, again, if they're serious about doing history, they shouldn't. If it's someone like my grandma who just wants, my 96-year-old grandma who's in a care home, yeah, she could do something like Kelly because she doesn't have the time or resources to do this. But Kelly, but for someone who's serious about history or apologetics, you shouldn't use Kelly. Certainly not as your primary source. Maybe some after, because an apologist could read anything if they want. They could read J.N.D. Kelly or Pelican or 50 Shades of Grey or whatnot. It doesn't matter. They can read any trash they want. But what your primary object of study needs to be the earliest sources. When you study the Bible, there's no better substitute than the Bible itself. If you need commentary, look at the earliest church fathers. Don't go to Schaff, Kelly. I mean, why would you want to learn from Kelly, regardless of where he is now? I know the title's a bit misleading. Is J.N.D. killing it? No, but I mean, I think the other Paul, when he did his tweets, was bang on. And sometime in the future, the other Paul and I, oh, by the way, guys, happy Australia Day. It's Australia's national holiday, equivalent to the 4th of July in America, or the 1st of July in Canada. It's technically January 26th. It's the 25th here, but it's currently the 26th over there. White shouldn't have been allowed to romp. Oh, Paul, happy Australia. By the way, that Waltzing Matilda Australia song is so based. I listened to that on my phone on the way home. It is such a based anthem. Paul, sometime you need to come on my channel, or I can come on yours. It doesn't matter whose channel we do. We're going to talk about all our favorite primary historical sources, and we are going to tell the apologetics world, Catholic and Protestant, to stop reading, or at least stop using as your primarily object of research people like Kelly or Shaft or books like 50 Shades of Grey or something. Okay, that's what we need to do sometime. No more J.N.D. Kelly as a primary source. Again, if my grandma wants something to read, I can tell her to read Kelly or whatnot. But if you're going to do serious apologetics, yeah, sure, I'll text you after this. I'm not going to be much longer here. That's such a bass song, though. Oh man, look up that song. It's called. If you don't mind, Paul, put the name of that Australian waltzing Matilda anthem thing in the just the name of it. You don't need to put the link. Yeah. So Paul and I are going to talk. Look, Paul and I disagree on a lot. I would have liked to see Paul go Catholic, but his studying put him in the Anglican direction. So we're on different paths, but we both agree. That if you're going to be serious about history, again, not some normie in the pews, but serious apologetics or historian, you need to make your primary object of study. Look, biography of Alfred the Great. If I want to learn about medieval England, this is what I'm going to read, Alfred the Great, or the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, or any of these. That's what we need. I know, John. Believe you me. but some people don't seem to get this. And again, no side is innocent. We've all quoted scholars. I know a lot of Protestants are pointing at the screen right now and saying, "Oh, but there's this Catholic author, Trent Horn, or Jimmy Aiken, or this guy, or that guy, or this guy, who quotes these modern scholars as his primary use." Yes, that's wrong. We should all stop doing that. All apologists. Again, not a normie, but if it's me, if it's the other Paul, if it's John Colaraffi, we all know to do this. We all know. So I'm going to emphasize over and over and over again to read the early sources, the primary or early, not all early sources primary, like for example, Eusebius. If you read Eusebius, he goes from the New Testament, from the time of Christ, all the way up to a few years before Council of Nicaea. And he was born in the 200s, dies in around 340. So obviously he's not a primary source for stuff that happened in the 2nd century. But he's an early source. So what we got to do is take the non-chronicles we have in the 2nd century, merge it with Eusebius. I know the other Paul's going to say a lot because he loves the early church. The first 4 centuries are his bread and butter. Me, I focus a bit later. I'm more 7th to 13th century. That's my bread and butter. So I'm a bit later. I still like reading early, but That's very special. But the other Paul really does a lot of stuff there. And yeah, he knows this stuff too. So yes. Should be used in apologetics work. Well, they should be like, by secondary, I mean, I assume you mean modern books. Modern books. Like Kelly or Schaff or whatnot. I mean, try to avoid them, but if you do use them, kind of have them like as a side dish. Like, when you go to a buffet, you put some meat, you put some like, if you go to a buffet, you have nice chicken, some potatoes and gravy, some beans, some Caesar salad. Maybe you got a few bacon bits over there. Okay, and a couple olives on the side. J.N.D. Kelly should be those olives on the side. The olives. Meaning it's a sliver of your thing, and you don't go to a buffet to have the olives. You go to a buffet to have the chicken and the mashed potatoes and the gravy and the Caesar salad. And sure, yeah, have a couple olives there. So think, if you go to a buffet, those olives on the side that are just trying to be on, that should be J.N.D. Kelly and Schaff and and all them. Okay. But so Paul, Paul, we will certainly collab. In fact, I'm gonna text you and we'll organize a time to go and do our top 10 historical sources, and of course they're going to pertain to the time. Again, if you want to learn about Alexius Comnenus, you read the Alexiad written by Anna Comnena, his daughter. You don't read some modern scholar who has to publish to keep his chair at a university that probably shouldn't exist because it's promoting lies like global warming. Exactly. None of that stuff. So if you are making, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. So yeah, top 10 historical sources. That's what we'll do. This is going to be good. Okay. Yeah, so we'll definitely plan that. I think I've said my piece. I shouldn't have said Kelly was in hell. One, because I'm not his judge and I don't know. Who knows what he died on his deathbed or repented of. But and second of all, and more importantly, that's not what the topic was, and everyone was focusing on that in the comments. So what we need to do is to do to take some primers. So if you don't know where to start, contact me, contact Paul. You can find us on Twitter. Contact us and we will e-papist. Thank you, Luke. Yeah. Contact us and we'll put you on the right path. We'll give you a reading list. I think if you want two sources to start, I would say go with Eusebius and then read Venerable Bede. Why Venerable Bede, you say? Well, because most people who watch this channel are descended from English Christianity. I live in a English colony, so does Paul. Same with all the Americans and people in England. So if you like it or not, that's your Christian heritage, Venerable Bede. That's who I would say. I'm going to come out with a top 10 early church list eventually, but I'm going to collab with the other Paul. Oh, it's going to be good. Paul, I can't wait for this. It's totally going to be completely based. As based as it completely based, you know, because we both love history. My mom went to university back when she went to university. I don't want to say how old my mom is, but she went to university and she took history, and she said that there's no more history left, only journalism. And a lot of these people like J.N.D. Kelly are masquerading journalism as history. So that's why you need to go back and read the early sources, which Paul and I are going to tell you about. This is going to be so based. Now, that's pretty much all I need to say. If you have questions, I'll answer a few questions, and then I'm off. All right. What do you think of using the Cambridge Companion books for Oxford Handbooks or the Wiley blah? I've never read those in my life. I figure I don't need to. Again, if you're not too serious about a subject, that might be okay. But like if you're going to learn about the Quran, you want to study the Quran, don't go and read the Blackwell Companion to the Quran. No, you need to study Quran, study the early Islamic beliefs and commentaries on the Quran. All right. Any more questions? Luke, I'm just curious. Well, what church are you a part of? I mean, if I'm an e-papist, I'm obviously not. The lowest depth to which people can sing before God is defined by the way. If I had a son who became a journalist and continued to be one for 5 years, I would a couple steps further than I would went. Oh, that's Kierkegaard. Have you seen the recent Pint video with Ethan? Okay. I tend to avoid Pints. I'll tell you why. His videos are too long. It's way too long. It like 3 hours. No, just make them an hour long, and we'll do that. Oh, easily. In fact, I believe you go to book 3, chapter 25, Synod of Whitby, and it'll just throw it up. Boo! It's over. I'm a recent Lutheran tradition drawer, was an atheist, and went straight to non-denom churches when I believed. My entire dad's family is Lutheran. My dad is technically still a Lutheran, although hasn't been to church in several decades, but he's not denounced it. So, will you be trying to convert the other Paul to Catholicism? I'm trying to convert everyone to Catholicism. So, yes. And I'm sure the other Paul would consider himself Catholic, but not Roman Catholic in the way Father James does. So Romanism, as he would call it, the other Paul, trying to convert into Romanism. Then again, that's everyone. John Colarafi, definitely. No. Bede. Oh, he's such an enjoyable read. Bede. I love Bede. And what a name, too. Bede. I mean, my first son is going to be named that. No, I don't know. He could be named that, but I mean, I love the name Bede. I love Bede. Such a holy man, Venerable Bede. So many great things about Bede. All right, are there any more questions? Any more questions? I like your thoughts and Ibarra as well. Oh, thanks. Bayesian. The Bayesian. All right. we've had too much fun with the Bayesian. I think that guy, I can't remember his name, Bertuzzi, probably realizes he made a mistake talking about that, because I mean, primary source and Bayesian. Oh man, I think he got a lot of flack for the Bayesian thing. He's like, oh yeah, I've calculated the papacy to be 83.67% repeating. I don't know how in heaven's name you do that. But guys, thanks for joining me. And if you live in Australia, happy Australia Day. If you live in Canada, have a good day. So anticlimactic. Australians get the Australian Day. But no, go check out that song. That hold on, I'm gonna put on the screen. Where is it? God bless Australia. God bless Australia. Anyway, God bless all of you. I am out now. And catch the future video with the other Paul and I. We still need to plan it. And oh, Paul, by the way, great live stream today. I caught about 3/4 of it. I was at work. But thankfully part of it was at lunch. And yeah, bye. And make sure to read some primary sources between now and my next video. God bless.